All right, so let's jump right in. If you've ever had a chance to walk around Taiwan, I mean, really walk the streets, you've probably looked up and noticed something kind of strange. There's this incredible clash of styles happening right above your head. And it's a story, but it's not one you read in a book. Nope, this one's told in bricks and mortar and those amazing roofing tiles.
So on one hand, you've got these super sleek, modern, Western-style apartment buildings just shooting up into the sky. But then, literally right next door, you could see the most beautiful, elegant, swooping curves of a classic Chinese-style roof. They're just there, side by side. It's this visual puzzle that really defines the entire landscape of the island.
And that right there is the big question we're tackling today. How on earth did this happen? How did Taiwan's skyline turn into this amazing mix of ancient tradition and super modern function? Well, to figure it out, we're going to have to take a little trip back in time.
Our journey starts with the very first foreign layer of influence, and this one arrived way before any modern skyscrapers were even a thought. We're talking about Europe's colonial footprint.
Yeah, that's right. We're going way, way back to the early 1600s. That's when the Dutch and the Spanish first showed up, and they started building things, leaving behind some of their earliest structures. A bit later, in the 1800s, the British also came and set up shop. And look, these weren't just lines on a map changing. These were real, physical changes. They literally left their mark in stone and brick.
So how can you spot this European influence? What's the big giveaway from this era? Well, it really just boils down to one key material: bricks. The Dutch, especially, were all about bricks. They left this legacy of brickwork that, believe it or not, you can still see today. A great example is the original walls outside the Amping Old Fort down in Tainan. And hey, if you want a taste of that British colonial style, you've got to check out the former British consulate in Kaohsiung. It's a perfect example.
Okay, so that European footprint was a big deal. But honestly, it was just the beginning. The next layer of influence was, well, it was on a whole other level. It was so much more widespread, and it's something that truly shaped modern Taiwan. I'm talking about the 50 years of Japanese rule. This was, without a doubt, a defining era.
50 years. I mean, just think about that. Half a century. That is a long time. And the impact went so much deeper than just architecture. You can still hear Japanese words sprinkled into the Taiwanese language today. And Japanese food, I mean, it's everywhere, and it's incredibly popular. So yeah, this period left a really, really deep cultural imprint.
And what's so cool is that this history isn't just in a textbook. It's right there, beautifully preserved for you to see. Seriously, if you're ever in Taipei, you can go to places like the Dr. Sun Yat-sen Memorial House or the Rinzai Zen Buddhism Temple, and it's like, whoa. It literally feels like you've just stepped back in time.
All right, so we've covered the outside influences, these foreign layers. But what about the stuff that was already there? The foundational principles that have been part of the culture for centuries. This is where we get to the real heart of it all, the roots of traditional Chinese architecture. And right at the core of this tradition is a concept I'm sure you've heard of: feng shui. It literally translates to wind and water, and this ancient belief system is all about harmony. It's not just about interior decorating or how a building looks on the outside. It's much deeper. It's about how that building is positioned in relation to the entire natural world around it, the mountains, the rivers, the whole terrain. A simple way to think about it is like a three-step process. First, the builders and architects would literally read the landscape. Look at the mountains, see where the water flows. Step two, they'd position the building to be in perfect balance with all those elements. And why? Well, the ultimate goal, step three, was to cultivate good fortune and, just as importantly, keep bad luck away. And this way of thinking, it has shaped everything for thousands of years, from the smallest little house to the most magnificent temple. Okay, let's pull all of this back to the present day. We've got the European layer, the Japanese layer, and these deep, traditional Chinese roots. So how do all of these different threads weave together to create the architectural tapestry of the Taiwan we see today? This quote here really just nails it. The change has been huge. 50 years ago, those Chinese-style roofs were everywhere. Today, not so much for housing. And the reason is pretty straightforward. As the population boomed, they needed places for people to live. The practical, build-up, not-out design of Western-style apartments just made more sense. It became the new norm, simply because those beautiful traditional buildings couldn't possibly house everyone. But, and this is a big but, that doesn't mean tradition was just thrown out the window.
Not at all. In fact, if you want to see the perfect blend of past and present, you just have to look at one massive, iconic building, the Taipei Railway Station. I mean, this place is a gigantic, modern, super functional transit hub. But just look at its roof. That is a classic, traditional Chinese-style roof, put there completely on purpose. It's a modern building that is so proudly wearing its history for everyone to see.
So the next time you find yourself looking at a building in Taiwan, maybe you'll see more than just a structure. Hopefully, you'll see a story of invasion, of influence, of deep-seated tradition, and of constant change. And that kind of leaves us with one final question to ponder, right? As Taiwan keeps growing and changing, what story will its next buildings tell?